Okay, let's get this going. Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to the Boys Upstairs show. This is the divisional round show. Woo! Woo! There we go. Really small barn here today. It's just me, Tommy, and Jake, but that's not a bad thing at all. So we'll jump right in. Hope everyone had a good wild card weekend. I know I did. Imagine being from Green Bay. Am I right, fellas? Um, we have some news. Not news for us personally, but um, with a member of the Rooney family starting this program, it instead in lieu of a wild card recap, but we will do that with Bears win. That's all that really mattered from the weekend. We slayed the Dragon, beat the Packers, so fuck them. Mike Tomlin has stepped down. Tommy, I'll give you a chance to speak through this one.
Yeah, well, it ties in kind of nicely to how we started the show by you saying it's a small three-man barn. We want volunteers, not hostages. Shout out Mike Tomlin. Nothing but respect, nothing but appreciation for all of the 19 years that he devoted to the city of Pittsburgh and the Steelers organization. It's the only head coach that I've really known in my lifetime. Like when he got hired, I was 6 years old. I don't really remember being 6 years old. So, it'll be weird seeing somebody else on that sideline. And if Mike Tomlin does end up coaching somewhere else later down the road, it'll be even weirder seeing him in some other team's colors. But I mean, when you talk about watching a highlight reel of head coaches, I don't think you can get a better one than Mike Tomlin. All of the things that he said in press conferences, all the things he's done post game, all the things that he's said on the sideline when they're mic'd up, it doesn't get much better. And the last few years have been, not obviously what he wants or what the city wants, what the team wants, and sometimes it's just you move on. And he decided less than 24 hours after the Steelers lost in the wild card round that was the time to do it. Which I said earlier to Sam, I literally had never been more shocked by a notification on my phone than getting that notification on my phone, even more so than the Luka trade last year. Um, it was just surprising to see. Obviously, wish him nothing but the best. Like, I hope that he takes this year and goes and sees the world and spends time with his wife. And I think his kids are in college now, so spend as much time with them as you can. But enjoy life for a year. Being an NFL head coach or a head coach at any level, like high school, college, you're spending 95% of your day with the team or preparing the team for the next game or whatever the case may be. Like you're locked into that at all times. So take that year or more, whatever he ends up doing, and enjoy. But yeah, extremely grateful for him. And I'm excited to see the new era. When you watch Steelers offense, it's kind of like you're watching an offense from the 1980s, and it worked for a while there, especially when you have guys like AB, Le'Veon Bell, Prime Big Ben. Like you can get away with some things, but these last few years have been a tough watch. You saw it this past weekend against Houston Texans. It's tough when you get three first half turnovers and you only get 6 points out of it. You can't win football games like that, and that's not Mike Tomlin's fault. But at the end of the day, it's an extremely odd feeling seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers and all these like coach carousel, like talks when every year it's like the Browns, Panthers, teams like that. You don't see the Steelers in it. Haven't seen it since 2007. Um, there's only been three Steelers head coaches since the landed on the moon landing. There's more popes since 1969 than there are Steelers. So whoever this next guy is, at least that you're going to have some good job security. There probably isn't a job in America that has better job security than the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it'll be interesting to see who it ends up being. Maybe Brian Flores, maybe one of the Rams guys. Who knows? Maybe Sig. Who knows? I'm excited to see what happens. And yeah, like obviously it sucks that we lost in the wild card round again. Did I get my hopes up this year like I do every year that we're going to somehow go on a magical run? Yes. But, maybe next year. But with that being said, excited for divisional round football. You know, Normally this time of year I'm just depressed because the Steelers lost, but now there's kind of like a different vibe because it's like we're entering a new era. Rodgers is also like 100% gone now because he really only was playing because he wanted to play for Mike Tomlin, and I don't think he wants to be a part of like a new era type thing when he's going into a year 43 season. So It'll be exciting to watch. I'm now a Bears fan for the rest of this year. So go Bears, and I'm excited to pick some games.
And you
Thank
are
you for listening.
you are more than welcome to hop on the wagon. There's more than enough room for everyone except maybe Postman that's still kind of in
Yeah,
limbo
when
there.
when when Postman texted you and said, "Can I be a part of the Bears bandwagon?" I was like, "Sam, say no,"
I
because
I probably
every
should
team
have.
that he every team that he roots for, or even him being a Rory McIlroy fan, they do not win. So
Yeah, it was Rory, it was Michigan, then it became the Vikings. He hopped on the 9 train. We all saw how that worked
Dolphins
out this
too.
year. The Dolphins. It really
Now he's trying to bandwagon Miami because his little brother goes there, and they're not going to win.
you can do that to an extent, but you can't do it. Like you can't do it when he's tied so much into Michigan. But he's not on this program, so we don't have to worry about him right now. But everyone's welcome on the Bears bandwagon. That was one of the craziest comebacks I've seen, considering we've had like 4 of them this year. Um, I mean, I was kind of speechless after the fact. I tweeted it out. It was just like I didn't even know what to think. I was just genuinely in shock after that game, and I want to thank Greg Roman and Artie Smith for taking the probably 8 to 12 combined hours of football that we consumed, which was just awesome games down to the last second,
Yeah,
shootouts turning into for the most part, and just pissing on everyone with whatever the hell they did to their offenses. Um, and then just one quick note for me because I can't leave it out before we get into these games is that um, Justin Herbert, I'm officially sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of Justin Herbert now. All I hear about every single August, July in training camp is how he's a top 5 quarterback going into the league. And that like he's choked in playoff games before. Last year he threw a bunch of interceptions. This was worse. The kid was seeing ghosts out there. It was bad. The play calling and all that was not good either, but he was just completely off. There was nothing to write home about at all for him. It was embarrassing. I'll say that. Shout out Texans defense too. Even though
Tex,
what they did to the Steelers,
Tex,
but that
hey,
unit that is a
yeah,
Super Bowl winning unit. But we're gonna talk about the Texans soon. For now, we're gonna get this one over with just because it's the Broncos. But Bills are taking them on. First game of the weekend. I believe it's a CBS game or ESPN at
CBS,
yeah
4:30 Saturday.
4:30 Saturday CBS game. When you're in the divisional round and you're playing at 4:30 on Saturday, that is an indicator that no one cares about
Well,
the game you're
it's
playing.
a 1 versus 7 game,
Yeah,
but
it is a 1 versus 7 game, but the Bills are favored as the 7 by a point and a half total, sitting at 46.5. If it was 64.5, that'd be awesome, but it's not. We'll do the only 3 of us will rotate this around here, so I'll start with this one. Not much to say. I'm just going Bills. It's basically a pick 'em. There was a lot of talk, and we touched on it last week about how this is Josh Allen's year. Like there's nothing really standing in his way. He's got to prove the kind of quarterback he is, the big game guy, the real winner, to put himself in that Mahomes conversation that he's been in for so long but hasn't delivered anything. And it looked for a little bit last weekend like that was in doubt. And it's like, wow, they're really going to lose to the fucking Jaguars and a rookie head coach and Trevor Lawrence and get knocked out of this. No, he pulled through and he played a pretty terrific game for the most part. And I'm not buying the whole, oh, it's just Josh Allen versus the world. Like, yeah, there's not all the stars you'd imagine on the Bills, but it's still a very good team, very well coached team. Broncos, it's Fugazi alert for me. That their defense won them so many games going through the year, and we saw that defense kind of falter off later, but they were still finding a way to win games, and I think ended up with 14 wins or something. I I'm just really not sold on them. And then Sean Payton was an asshole to a reporter today. Shocker! Stop me if you heard that one before. Total, I really don't know. Broncos can play, have shown that they can play any sort of game, and the Bills can play any sort of game too. But the Bills tend to thrive when it's more of a shootout environment. 46.5 seems a little weird. And at 67%, I was in 8th place last week. So I'm just going to sit that out. And I think Josh Allen gets another run at the conference championship.
Jake, I'm going to let you go here because I just talked for like 20 minutes, but I will say just really quick before I forget to say it. Sam's saying that 46.5 is weird. I forget what the number was, but whatever the number was for that Bills Jags game, and it ended up being exactly the number. That's when if you have that feeling that a number's weird, don't take it.
51 and a half, and it ended with 51 points.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
exactly.
it was it was 27-24 and it ended. Um, yeah, so the NFL and football is the ultimate team sport, so I really don't want to make it too much about one individual, but it's Josh Allen against another quarterback who's only played in one playoff game and didn't play great last year, ironically against the Bills. That time it was in Orchard Park, now it's in Denver. The Broncos have a little bit of the Bears in them this year where they look sporadic and out of sorts and they fall behind, but at the end of the games, they find a way to win. I remember against the Giants, they scored what, like 28 points in the last quarter, the last 10 minutes or something crazy like that. Against the Chiefs, I think on Christmas night, when the Chiefs were playing their backups and their third string because Patrick Mahomes had already been hurt, the Broncos are in a tie game late. Bo Nix finds a way to win. I think he hit RJ Harvey in the back of the end zone for a go ahead score. I feel like I remember that well because I had a fantasy championship with him in it. RJ Harvey, shout out to you. But Josh Allen's an awesome player. I earned so much more respect for him last week than I already had, and I already had a ton for him. If you remember correctly, he hit it was either Brandon Cooks or Keon Coleman on a long
Brandon
throw.
Cooks at the end there, yeah.
No, it was no, and that throw was great. But earlier in the game, he jammed his finger on his offensive lineman's helmet, and he stayed in the game, shook it off. They ran a bunch of tush pushes. He got beat up, and after the game, he looked spry and like he's ready to go. I think he can sense, okay, I have to beat Trevor Lawrence, then Bo Nix, then either C.J. Stroud, who's not playing well, or Drake Maye, who's great but still in his first playoff run. The opportunity is there for them. I like the Bills a lot. They don't have a great roster, but James Cook is good enough. The wide receivers showed up a week ago. The pass defense is good enough. They can get run on, but the Broncos don't really have a great offense altogether. It's their defense that carries them, so it's going to be a tough ask for Josh Allen against Pat Surtain and what is it called, like the Orange Crush and all the sacks they get this year. They're an unbelievable defense, but
Yeah, Nick Bonito, can't forget about him.
I'm going to go with the Bills, and it's a 1.5 point spread, and it really comes down to the quarterback play, and I trust their quarterback more than Denver.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think that one thing that we haven't touched on that I was nervous about if the Steelers were to, win the game against Houston was the whole and this was before the Patriots Chargers game, so it ended up not really mattering. It could have mattered and whatever. Doesn't matter. Playing in Denver is hard. Playing at Mile High is hard. And that is something that, the Bills might be a little bit not as, affected by because they do play in a cold weather city, but the elevation is something that is hard. Um, Also, Denver's got a week of rest, which sometimes can hurt teams, sometimes can help teams. When you're an older team, it usually does help you because you get your older guys some rest. Denver's not really in that situation. They're a younger roster. We talked about it. Their offense isn't great. Their defense is number 2 in the league, I think, only to Houston. And Houston is amazing. I can tell you firsthand. Um, but I will say this. Jake talked about James Cook being a good player. When your offense, in this case Denver, doesn't put up a lot of points, that allows the other team to be able to still run the ball. And if James Cook gets cooking,
Mhm.
especially in a cold weather game, that could be a major factor in this one. But when it comes down to it, like you guys just said, it's a pick 'em, and you've got Bo Nix and Josh Allen. Who do you think you're going to take in that situation? I'm
Yeah,
taking fucking Josh Allen.
yeah, you hate to make it a quarterback game, but it's like, dude,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, I
it's
love
Bo
football.
Nix and Josh Allen. Come on.
I love football. I love everything that goes into football. And I hate to be the guy that's like, picking two quarterbacks against each other. But in this situation, it is that. So I'm taking Josh Allen and the Bills. I do think that, like I said this last week, the Jags were the hottest team coming into the playoffs. And the fact that they were able to find a way at the end of that game on the road to get that done, they're going to have to go on the road this whole playoff run if they end up, making it to the Super Bowl. And I think that playing an unexperienced quarterback in the playoffs, these two teams played last year in the playoffs. It was in Buffalo, and granted, the Broncos weren't as good last year as they were this year. But I do think that this game has some similarities in terms of how the Bills will choose to attack them because they were a great defense that year as well. And the Bills really have the exact same skill players that they had last year. For whatever reason, they're just not producing as much this year. But Josh Allen, I think, knows at the end of the day that when you look at like the Brady era, Big Ben got 2, Peyton Manning got 2, Eli got 2, Flacco got 1. Like Drew Brees got one. Like, this could be Josh Allen's only time to get one. So I think he's well aware of the situation that the AFC is in this year, how wide open it is, and I think they're going to take advantage of at least this opportunity. And yeah, give me the Bills.
Hey, Dan Campbell said it himself. This might be our only shot, but the Bills have had so many shots and fallen short so many times.
Also,
I guess
shout
time
out
will
to
tell.
shout out to Cam. He wasn't right, but he did say that the Broncos allow some random wide receiver to go crazy, and that was Khalil Shakir. He said it was going to be Keon Coleman, but Khalil Shakir had a great game. So I know
Keon Coleman has a chance to shove it right back to Cam Newton here once and for all.
I meant Cam Williams, but
No, I know. I'm saying if he's preferring to Keon Coleman in this game.
oh yeah,
Oh well, it was Keon Coleman last time.
yeah.
That never mind. But
I saw that Martin sent his card in and he's taking a Khalil Shakir touchdown. I was thinking about doing that. I'm going to wait closer to game time. It might be a Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown, or potentially even a Ray Davis anytime touchdown. But we'll see.
I was just gonna say Ray Davis, and if you're not betting Dawson Knox because the books keep giving him plus money for touchdowns in the playoffs, dude, he's Josh's guy. Like he is almost his number one receiver in the playoffs. But yeah, well, we're gonna see what happens there, and that'll be over just in time for a big one. And this is
By the way, hold on, wait, sorry, really quick. So this is Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, CBS, 4:30 on Saturday.
Again?
I didn't want to mention it. I actually was watching this game with not a lot of the audio, but I heard that
Yeah,
fans
well,
were not appreciative of Tony Romo's commentary during the game.
Tony Romo came out today and said that he was battling an illness during last week's game.
I'm sure he was. The people get into the nitpicky and whatever, and the glazing quarterbacks, which is like, yeah, that's just every announcer almost. But what kept pissing me off was that he would not stop saying, Jim, both these teams are so good. Whoever wins this, I could really see them going on to win the Super Bowl. Tony, it's the fucking playoffs. That's the point, you idiot.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, kind of related to that point, not agreeing with him 100%, but the fact that we have a 1-7 matchup and the 7 team is the favorite on the road. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I don't have the data in front of me, but that's fucking insane.
I think the Bills are the 6. I think the Chargers were the 7. But still,
yeah, you're right.
But still, that is especially. Listen, I don't mean to make myself sound weak. I was just in Vail, Denver. I get off the plane. We get our bags from baggage claim. Pulling the bag off the conveyor belt and then walking outside, I'm like, why am I tired? Like the altitude hits you. So like, and the one city in all of sports that has a ridiculous home field advantage is Denver, because there's really no way to train yourself in the week for how tired you're going to feel in the first quarter. But
as a frequent Boulder visitor, and given I'm not playing football when I go there, most of the time I'm just drinking. When you're like getting out of bed there, you just feel like 20 pounds heavier. It's like you feel like you're like sinking to the earth more. Everything's shorter of breath. It's a real effect.
I can attest to it firsthand living in Montana now. Like, I think Denver's like 5,200 something and Bozeman's like 4,800.
Yeah.
So it's similar. That first week that I was out here, you feel it. Like your head hurts just being.
It's it.
So, like I remember back in the day when the Steelers would play in Denver, Ryan Clark had sickle cell, and so he wasn't able to play whenever we played at Denver.
It was the Tebow game.
Yeah,
he was hurt. He would have been the safety back then. I'm sorry, Rudy's. I'm sorry for bringing that memory up.
My dad literally went nonverbal for like 3 straight days after that game.
Hey,
and Sam, I probably would do the same thing.
Hey Sam, and so you were just flaming Justin Herbert. I saw a funny meme. Tim Tebow has more playoff wins than Justin Herbert does.
Juwan Jennings has as many touchdown passes in the playoffs as Justin Herbert.
God, that's horrible.
How is that real? How many does Juwan Jennings have?
2, right? Yeah.
He has 2?
It was in the Super Bowl and then this past week.
Both to McCaffrey. But
he was a 4-star high school quarterback, supposedly, so they got a bunch of trick play packages.
He's got an arm. I mean,
Herbert only has 2 touchdown passes in the playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah.
But speaking of...
They scored like 20-something points in that Chargers game where they blew the lead.
Running the ball. All right, enough with the fucking AFC West here.
All right.
Oh, speaking of Juwan Jennings, the 49ers and Seahawks, again, this is really starting to remind me of, not that it will come anywhere close, but the Bears Packers, where we played each other 6 times or 3 times in 6 weeks or something like that. This is the second time in 3 weeks now the Niners will play the Seahawks. It is in Seattle this time, as opposed to Santa Clara, San Francisco, whatever, where the Seahawks absolutely shit kicked the Niners and held them to 3 points in their own barn. Seahawks are 7.5 point favorites. Total is set at 45.5. I'll just go first for this one again, since you guys were talking about Justin Herbert and whatever the hell he does with his life right now. Um, I got to go Niners here. I feel like you really can't fade them, especially after last week, given that Philly is so flawed and they came in there as 3.5 point dogs. And even though they were down pretty late, they had control of that game for the most part. I've been a believer in the Niners this year, big Kyle Shanahan guy. And this could very well, in my opinion, be the welcome to the playoffs moment for Mike McDonald. And Shanahan does not like getting beat by teams, and especially playing them a couple weeks after. Big film study guy. He's going to see every formation, every single look, every package they have, and find something to counter that. I mean, they're really good at stopping the run, so it's tough for McCaffrey to get going. People forget Kittle's out, so that probably contributes to this. But I mean, the Niners have been next man up all year, and they've gotten this far and won 11 games with the roster they have now, including Kittle for probably what, like 9 or 10 games, something like that. So I'm not really depending their success on Kittle, but to give the Niners 7.5 points in this as a playoff team against a playoff quarterback and Sam Darnold, who's just shown that he can't do shit in the playoffs, given a small sample size, but against Brock Purdy, who's been there before, he's gone to a Super Bowl, he's had a couple deep playoff runs. Um, I just think 7.5 is a little disrespectful. And speaking of tough places to play, Seattle is right up there, especially in the winter. In a playoff environment. Not really much else tactically to say about this one. It would be hilarious if Juwan Jennings gets another trick play touchdown pass, but I'm excited to see how this one goes down, and I don't anticipate this line staying true. I don't think the Seahawks are going to control the game over again. Division rivals coming off of a 10 point loss. I don't see a way that the Niners don't keep this close and even win it.
I'll
Total, I'm not. I'm not touching the total for this one either. I'm only picking teams today,
I'll
except
jump.
for. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know who you're picking.
Yeah.
I'm also picking the Niners, and I want the spread on my card, but I think they're going to win outright. And I wasn't on last week. I was battling a sore throat slash lost my voice entirely. I would have picked them to win outright a week ago. And Big Bad Bob Saleh is coordinating his tail off. Supposedly their linebackers didn't even get to the team until like a few weeks ago. I think Eric Kendricks is one of the linebackers. I don't even know the other guy's name. They've lost George Kittle, Fred Warner. He's been done for the majority of the year. But Kyle Shanahan is putting together one of the best coaching seasons I've seen in a while. And Christian McCaffrey, he's not having a great season in terms of yards per carry, but he is kind of like the Steph Curry of this offense, where he's the engine, where he can impact the game even if he's not great on the ground. He can catch 6 passes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he caught 2 touchdowns against the Eagles. And Brock Purdy is not as trustworthy as Josh Allen or maybe even, a Drake Maye, even though we've only seen him in one playoff game so far. He might turn the ball over, but he has full confidence in himself. He pushes the ball down the field. I think that they're going to go into Seattle with a good game plan. The offense is the reason they lost the game last time they played in week 18. It wasn't really the defense's fault. Seattle only scored, I think, 13 points in
13,
that
yeah,
game.
13-3. Bob
If
Saleh, man.
if they can contain Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is a tough ask, Sam Darnold in playoff games, I saw it last year firsthand for the Vikings. He might get frantic and turn the ball over. And I think that San Francisco just wants a close game headed into the fourth quarter. And just like in Philly, they found a way to drive down the field score the go-ahead touchdown and get a stop to win the game. And I think that San Francisco is going to be one win away from hosting their own Super Bowl in Santa Clara. So give me the Niners.
Yeah, I agree. I sent my bracket fully done out once the playoff bracket was announced. And yeah, I had the Steelers in the Super Bowl, but I also had the 49ers making a run to the NFC Championship game, facing the Chicago Bears, which we'll get to. I do think the 49ers win this game outright. I think that 7.5 is extremely disrespectful, especially when these teams just played. The Seahawks had this last week off. The last team that they played was 49ers. They're playing the 49ers 2 games in a row, which is,
Yeah.
doesn't happen a lot.
Mhm.
And what you guys have said is pretty much what I was going to say. Like, I think that Brock Purdy in these moments has shown that he can make plays. It doesn't have to be like you said, how Christian McCaffrey's Steph Curry of the offense. Brock Purdy just has to be like the Draymond Green of the offense,
Mhm.
and get guys where they need to be, and make plays in his bag. And I do think the 49ers have just been able to find a way. I think that something that is gotten a lot of traction this week is the whole electrical sub power plant thing that's right next to their practice facility that has caused all these injuries. We'll see if they end up moving their practice facility after this season. But regardless, I think 49ers are going to find a way in this game. And, Sam talked about how Seattle is one of the tougher barns to play in the National Football League. You know what's a little bit tougher or, equal at least? Philadelphia. And they just found a way to do it in that barn. I do want to bring this piece of data, which, it's just a fun one, but the data is there. The head referee for this game is John Hussey. John Hussey. The 49ers are 2-0 straight up when John Hussey is the referee this season. The Seattle Seahawks, since 2020, have not won a game with John Hussey as the head referee. So, for what that's worth, NFL officials are not full-time employees. They have other jobs, which means they may have some other interests. Until that gets figured out, which I don't know when that's going to happen. We're in 2026, and they're still not full-time employees. Who knows? Maybe some calls go the 49ers' way in this one. But regardless of that, even if I didn't know that piece of data, I was still taking the Niners to cover 7.5 because I think this will be a 3-point game, whichever way it goes. So give me the Niners. And because Kittle is out and because this guy has made some plays this season, give me a Jake Tonges anytime touchdown. Let me check real quick. This game is on.
This is Fox, I believe.
This is Fox. Yeah, I can see Kevin Burkhardt saying Jake Tonges anytime, or touchdown Jake Tonges, something like that.
Get a nice big Brady. Oh,
yeah. So give me that.
I feel like we're gonna get one of those for a McCaffrey play, maybe a JSN play, which.
Another stat that I'm pretty sure that I saw, Brock Purdy, I believe, is undefeated in Seattle. He's never lost a game in Seattle. They obviously lost week 18, but I think in Seattle he's 6-0. I saw that somewhere online. Maybe worth a fact check, but he's not phased by that 12th man up there.
49ers won this year in Seattle.
They did.
I think you're right.
I think that was week 1 though. I think they played week 1, week 18.
That was another piece of data which I thought was like not worth bringing up, but this is the first time in NFL history that a team has played the same team week 1, week 18, and in the playoffs.
So, I was gonna say it happened because week 1 and 18 happened 23 Bears Packers.
Yeah, no, that has happened before for sure. I think
lost.
Steelers and Ravens have done that too, but also in the playoffs in the same year.
Yeah, I mean, we shall see, but I'm actually more excited for this one despite the spread, and it kind of worries me. I don't know. I'm thinking Vegas might have their hands tied in this one a little bit.
That's because you're on your Brazilian book with the 3.5. Give me the Pats -3. Come on.
That leads us perfectly right into the Texans at the Patriots. Listen, for everyone taking notes here, at the beginning of each week, normally Monday or after the Monday night game, I go on my Canva account and I start cooking up these graphics. And there's 12 different cards, or 12, not 12 pages, but 10 cards that I got to make up. I put in a spread and a number for one of those, and I delete, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. If a spread goes for a half point, I'm not changing it. So for our purposes, the Patriots.
FanDuel's
Jake,
got it at
Jake,
-3.
we've been doing this show for 6 years, 5 years, whatever it is. We're not changing
Are
shit.
we all picking the Patriots? I think we are because
No,
the
no.
half a point helps us. Oh. Well,
Oh no,
Tom's
no, you'd be surprised. I've seen a lot of Texans love, but Patriots are 3.5 or 3, whatever you want to call it. I will determine how to judge that as the supreme leader here. Total is at 40.5, 1 point ahead of last week's. Jake seems very eager to talk about this
Yeah,
one.
Jake, if that half a point makes that much of a difference for you, then just take the Texans because you still
No, it
think the
doesn't
Patriots
make
are
any
coming.
difference. It just gives me an extra level of comfort. Here's the situation. I'm not phased by this Texans performance against Pittsburgh because I think this was a great game, evenly matched until the offensive line kind of gave out. Then Rodgers started pressing at the end, and the final score was way uglier than the game actually was. I don't trust C.J. Stroud at all right now. He's been a very good player, won a playoff game in every single one of his years in the league. I do not trust him right now. I trust Drake Maye more. He did not play well last week against the Chargers. He still outplayed Justin Herbert, which probably doesn't mean that much in a playoff game because it's Justin Herbert. But he did enough, made a nice throw at the end to seal the game with a touchdown pass to Hunter Henry. I think that Drake Maye is going to propel himself into top 5 quarterback in the league status via this playoff run. And I think the Patriots are going to beat the Houston Texans, albeit a great defense Drake Maye is going up against. But they have the home field advantage. Great coaching matchup. Great matchup with the defensive minds with Vrabel and D'Amico Ryans in this game. I give the slight edge to Vrabel considering he has been to an AFC championship previously with Ryan Tannehill as at the quarterback position of all things. I like the Patriots -3 or 3.5. I'm thinking a 24-20 ball game here, hopefully. So maybe a little bit closer than I just was so confidently articulating, but I don't trust the Houston offense. I don't. I mean, that pick six at the end. How many defensive touchdowns, Tommy? They scored 2, right? Because they had the big guy ran the fumble back.
Too.
Yeah, dude, listen, I don't trust their offense right now. I got the Patriots. I'm
That
right.
I,
that that last one was,
yeah,
just
last one was 2 minute kind of garbage. 2 minute
Yeah, they gave
garbage
up.
time.
That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
wasn't a 31-6 win as it looks on paper.
So I'm actually going a different direction here, almost completely. I'm surprised you didn't agree with me on the one thing is that I'm slamming the under here. It is this Texans team, these Texans games,
That's
and
a
it
good
got
call.
close in the last one. Had the Steelers scored a garbage time there, the over would have hit, but it didn't. 40.5. I'm going to take the under here, so I'll start off with that. And that leads me into the talk of defenses. I like you talk about the coaching matchup too. Two defensive minds. Another fun fact is there's an even split in this divisional round. You have 4 offensive head coaches, 4 defensive head coaches. What I saw, despite what the Steelers have been all season with their offense kind of having these ups and downs and being old and kind of using like Johnny Smith as a running back and their main receiver a lot of the time, it's not they're not to be trifled with really, and it wasn't a bad unit. It wasn't a bad unit all year. They had their struggles, whatever, but it's Aaron Rodgers. They can turn it on when they need to. That Texans
it
defense.
was it was aggressively mid though.
Yeah, it was mid. It was very mid, but it's nothing that like I couldn't see a team kind of or like I couldn't see them going in and putting up numbers on a team regardless of how good the defense is. The game plan's right for Rodgers on. The Texans defense was, and this is a little biased from me, that is as dominant of football as I've seen on that side of the ball since the 2018 Bears, where Mitch Trubisky would throw for 150 yards a game and they'd run for 150 and they'd win games by 15 points just because their defense was that good. It was Khalil Mack got a sack every other play, Eddie Jackson got a pick every other play. I saw someone tweeted out that the Texans defense is 11 velociraptors with machine guns, and it's right. I talked about it last week about how they don't screw with you at all. They're not going Steve Spagnuolo where it's all these different looks and sending pressure from the safeties and all of that. They line their shit up and they say, "Hey, go! You throw it somewhere, we're gonna get it. You want to run it somewhere, we're gonna find you and we're gonna tackle you." And
And they don't sub either,
they
which
don't
is
sub.
it
They
is
do.
very very rare in this era of football. They just line their 11 best players up and
Yep.
say, "We're going to stop you on every play." And shout out Tone Diggs from McAfee Show. Like the Steelers' best offense this year, at least recently, has been throw it to Kenny Gainwell on the check down. And, first quarter, like after 2 drives, he tweeted out, the Texans have figured out the throw to the running back offense. Like
Yeah.
they swarm the ball. Like when you complete a short pass, they are on you immediately. Like there's no yards after the catch.
No,
Uh,
not. And it's genuinely impressive. And it's a lot of people say like it's not fun to watch these defensive battles in football. I do find it fun to watch that Texans defense, and it goes to compliment that coaching staff there. Is when D'Amico Ryans first started and he was calling the defense, it was always a good defense. That was kind of what they were built around at the time. And especially when Stroud was humming like that. And then he handed off play calling to Matt Burke, the coordinator, and it just got that much better. And that allows D'Amico to do his thing as head coach. And you've got a guy calling that defense like that with the way they're humming, and there's just no weak spot. There's no like, oh hey, we can find this guy in the slot here is really weak, whatever. No, there's a guy making a insane tackle. You got just whoever it may be. Guys are all over the place, and then you forget that hey, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are rushing at you right now at the same time, and they're always there quick too. So I can't really say enough good things about that defense. The Patriots, I was so unimpressed by what I saw from them on Sunday night. I was very unimpressed by what I saw from Drake Maye, and no hate to him or whatever. He's done a great job this year. He's been awesome, but I wouldn't say he looked rattled. But it was clear that when the time wasn't there and the read wasn't there and there wasn't a lot of separation, he kind of forced it, panicked a little bit, made some bad decisions, threw the ball over twice, probably could have been 3 or 4 times. The Chargers just did everything in their power on offense to never make them pay and hand them the game. So even without the one good throw he had, which was that touchdown, they win that game easily still. I mean, Vrabel's been there before. He's done it. He's taken out Brady in the playoffs. He ended Brady's career with the Patriots, and he's taken out Lamar Jackson as the 1 seed. I'm gonna give it to the Texans here to cover this because I don't think the Patriots have been running away with games all year. Look at the teams they've played and the defenses they've played. I think this team is going to get, or this Texans defense is going to give Drake Maye and these guys a very hard time. I don't think the run game is going to be able to do much. I think Drake Maye is going to have a rude awakening when he tries to lob it up to Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas, with the kind of caliber of players these guys are. And the last thing I was going to say about it, which kind of just escaped me about the Patriots, fuck, I forgot. Yeah, no, give me the Texans.
Yeah. Obviously I watched the Houston Texans play this past weekend against the Steelers. This defense legit. And like I know that you can hear people say like, all the stats about how good they are, but when you just look at the type of football that they play, first off, you've got exterior pressure coming from either side. Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson are unbelievable. Like, and you got to give the secondary some credit too, because it's not just Will Stingley, or yeah, his name's Will Stingley, right? Derek Stingley. Yeah. Either way, hell of a football player.
Yeah.
And then you've also got Laster on the other side, and then you've also got Petrie in the middle. And you've also got Al Shire at linebacker.
Speed, it's like it just doesn't end.
They swarm the football so hard.
They're
and
physical.
they're extremely physical. And, they've got a former, big hitter at head coach as well. And one thing that they showed, which I was not aware of this during the broadcast on Monday night, was that Aaron Rodgers is older than D'Amico Ryans, which is unbelievable. And D'Amico has sacked Aaron Rodgers before. Like Maya watching the game was like, the fact that he's older than their head coach probably means that he shouldn't be playing anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's fair assessment. I think in this game, like Sam said, like, Drake may have been rattled a little bit at times. It's his first playoff game, like that happens. It's not necessarily a knock on him to be, you've got all of this outside noise of you're the, MVP candidate, potentially MVP. You're one of the best teams in the league. You've got all these doubters saying that you've played a horrible schedule, which there is some validity to that. But you've also got, Khalil Mack chasing you down in your first playoff game. And they found a way to win. And granted, like Milton Williams made some big plays in that game against, the fourth string tackles that the Chargers were deploying in that game. And that game was horrible to watch. Absolutely, stinker on primetime Sunday Night Football. This game I think will be better. We've got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman during the daytime, which is obviously a change of pace for this one. Um, I think that the Houston Texans cover the spread. I could see this being a very close game, but you have to respect that defense, despite the fact that the defense gets the Steelers' offense off the field. Then not Drake Maye, C.J. Stroud fumbles the snap. Then the defense is right back on the field. Then C.J. Stroud fumbles another snap, throws another interception, and the defense just kept answering the bell. I think and that's what the Steelers' problem has been for the last 5-6 years is that defense would create a turnover, offense 3-and-out. And after a while, and that happened in this game too, this past Monday night. After a while, your defense is just like, all right, we can keep getting these turnovers, but if we're just going to keep getting 3-and-outs, like we're gassed. And this Texans team kept responding. So I think you have to give them that. I think that you really can't be much worse, at least in that first half, than CJ Stroud was, and they still found a way to win a playoff game. Shout out Christian Charlie Kirk having a career game in this one. He had 300 yards the entire season, and he had 115 in Monday night's game. So obviously unbelievable. Shows that he can still do it when called upon. And CJ Stroud did make some good throws in that game. Yeah, he was horrible for the majority of it, but he did make some good throws. And I'm still a CJ Stroud guy, even though he just beat my team in the playoffs. I think that he has gotten a lot of hate for how bad their offensive line has been. And it's not like, the New England front is going to generate as much pressure as TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, all those guys. So I think this game will be close. I could see it being another defensive battle, though, which is why I'm going to take the under as well. But yeah, give me the Texans, give me the under. And, if Drake Maye just goes out and balls against this Houston defense, which is the best in the league, I'm all in. I think he's the MVP. I still think it's Stafford right now, as we say here today. But and obviously it's a regular season award, whatever. But in terms of like the general consensus, I think if he goes out and balls out against this Houston defense, he's the guy.
Yeah. The thing that I was forgetting to say was just nothing insanely important, but that with the way Houston's defense plays, obviously, and I don't think New England's defense is as tough as Pittsburgh's. And CJ Stroud, I think there was a little bit of nerves going in there, whatever. And he's the kind of guy, I had seen that the big thing that New England was doing to the Chargers was mixing up their coverages, and you never knew what they were doing or whatever. CJ Stroud kind of strikes me as a guy who's going to let it rip no matter what, if he wants to throw it. So I don't think that's going to affect him as much. So that's something else to keep an eye on, but that can also result in turnovers. But alas, we are on to the one everyone has been waiting for. Rams are visiting the beloved Chicago Bears in Chicago. Soldier Field. It is going to be fucking cold. And I mean cold. And possibly a snow game. Rams are 3.5, 4, minus 3.5, 4, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're doing 4 for these purposes. Totals moved around, but we have it at 50.5 here. I obviously will be going first for this. And
Sam, really quick before you give your pick. In terms of obviously you were alive for when the Bears were in the Super Bowl, Rex Grossman, but I don't think you remember it. Is this the biggest game of your life, do you think?
No.
No?
Last week was the biggest game of my life.
Okay, well, this one means more. So is this now the biggest game of your life?
So, if you had waited...
They had the Jay Cutler NFC... Sorry, but it was the Jay Cutler NFC title game in 2010, I think. Again.
Yeah, 2011.
Okay, so you were 10?
Yeah, I was really young for that when Jay Cutler got hurt and they lost to the Packers and that. Yes, as my teenage and into my 20s years have gone, yes, last week was the biggest game of my life. But going into this, obviously everyone knows I'm taking the Bears, so you can write that one down. But last week I went into it
and I'd said it before the program, I'd said it after the program. The thing that made me so nervous and so anxious all week last week was you have this magical season, Caleb in year 2 after a horrible year 1, Ben Johnson, rookie head coach, and you go and you win your division when you were like so far, like you were plus 3,000 to win it, or not that, but whatever it may have been. And you go and win it. Your first play, you get a home playoff game, and you get the Packers. That game meant so much to me because it was like you lose that game, all that's going to be remembered out of this is, well, doesn't matter how good you are, the Packers still own you. That's all. That's all. That's all it's going to be. Packers own you. Nothing's changed. You guys are still little brothers. The fact that they beat that and they pulled, like, I don't know if it was McCaskey's call or Ben Johnson's, but the biggest brass ball move I've seen from this franchise in a while. They wore Navy on Navy. They had never, and I mean this, never won a game wearing Navy on Navy. And they went 0-4 against the Packers wearing Navy on Navy. And they did it in a playoff game when they had gone 2 or 3-10 against 3-13 against Matt LaFleur in this era. And they wore Navy on Navy, and they went and they beat them. So they slayed the dragon there. So does this mean more than last week in terms of like repercussions for the season? Yes, because you can go to the NFC Championship with this one. Does it mean more in the long run? If we win the Super Bowl, yes. If you don't, then no. The game that will be remembered is the Packers one, because every Bears fan will tell you it's fuck Green Bay. That's at the end of the day, it's Super Bowl and fuck Green Bay. That is priority 1 and priority 2. That being said, I'll go into this. As I said, it's going to be very cold. It's going to be very cold. The Rams have a historically very bad record playing in Chicago. I don't think that's going to matter too much this week. What concerns me here is the Bears secondary right now, and just the defense as a whole when they're not getting turnovers, especially at the cornerback position. Jalen Johnson has self-admitted it, and it's pretty apparent on the field that he's not really close to 100% right now. Doesn't look like the same player everyone's used to him being. But what was an encouraging sign was when second half of the game against Green Bay, one of the most underrated defensive players, one of the better nickelbacks in the league, Kyler Gordon, came in and started playing pretty much every snap. Tyreek Stevenson came out and subbed in for Nashawn Wright. And when TJ Edwards went down, journeyman DeMarco Jackson comes in, and that defense showed a lot more speed, a lot more prowess to the ball, a lot more aggressiveness. So I was pretty encouraged by that. That being said, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Jaden Reed are not Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and I think Puka could have his way with pretty much everyone. I would say Johnson can go in pretty well if he's healthy, but he's clearly not right now. So Dennis Allen's going to have to get some tricky stuff going. I think the D-line needs to perform big. And I said it last week, you score on 2 of the first 3 drives, you win the game. They didn't do that, and they still ended up winning the game somehow. I think this offense can be clicking a little more this week. And I think the back end of last week should give them a little bit of juice coming into this. I think I really respect the Rams defense as a unit, but I don't know, something about just playing the Packers is they'll always give you their best. I say that every time, and I'm using this as a reference from last week. But I mean, hey, dude, it's the fucking Bears this year. What time since they haven't lost a game handily since Baltimore in week 6 or whatever. They haven't lost by more than a touchdown since then. And it doesn't really matter who they're playing. They went into San Francisco and went band for band with the Niners. They held the Lions to a pretty defensive battle there and lost on a last-minute field goal. They came back against the Packers the first time in Lambeau. It's really any time, any place for these guys, and especially at home here. Stafford, Rams. I know Stafford's used to playing in the cold, but you never know. And I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't.
Stafford played in the dome. So
Stafford did play in the dome, but he's played in NFC. He played in NFC North schedule for a long time, and he's also.
I have some data, if I may interject.
Yeah, please do. I'm rambling on.
Per Caesar Sportsbook.
It's all Bears here, though.
Not to give away who I'm picking. Per Caesars Sportsbook, I'm pulling up again so I can read it with no mistakes because it caught my eye when I saw it earlier. Matt Stafford, in games when the temperature is 40 degrees or lower, he is 1-9.
Granted, he was on a lot of horrible Detroit lines.
Something to think about.
Hey, data's data, Tommy.
Something to think about.
Do you want to go or you want me to go, Jake?
Yeah, I'll run through it. I want to really compliment the Bears quarterback. You know, him and I have been friends for years, and by that I mean I've never met him. I've just gambled on him a couple times. Young quarterbacks in big games, typically they fall behind, they start pressing, they start turning the ball over. He just seems to be more relaxed. He seems to be a little pressed really, really early in the game and throw some interceptions. And then when they fall behind 21-3, all right, let's just go play. Let's just run the offense. Let's move the ball down the field. He does not seem to be fazed by the big moments. They're at home this week. And the jump man throw, the crazy pass, I think it was to Odunze right in the fourth down. I was Ubering and going. I was looking at my phone as this was going on, but I watched the highlights, believe me. You know, he just seems to be. What's scary is I don't think he's close to his ceiling as how good he can be. The completion percentage is still too low. He still probably doesn't have a complete understanding of Ben Johnson's complex scheme, which is just scary for how good they're going to be in a year or 2 years. But how good are they now? They could get to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. And how relaxed he is in the third and fourth quarters, even if they're behind, is a big reason why. The Rams offense is awesome. However, since the Seattle game where Seattle scored the 2-point conversion in overtime to win. You remember that game when Stafford threw for damn near 500 yards? Their defense let Sam Darnold cook in the second half. The following week against Atlanta, their whole team looked off. Maybe they were flustered from a tough game against the Seahawks, and the game didn't really mean that much. They knew they were in, but they knew the number one seed was out of reach. Stafford threw 3 picks, I think. The defense got gashed by Bijan Robinson and Kirk Cousins. They played Arizona last week, whatever. And then they almost lost to Carolina. They were losing in the fourth quarter to Carolina, although it's a road team. Although Carolina's a home team, like they went 8-9. They weren't really one of the 10 or 12 best teams in the league this year. I don't think anybody would suggest that. The Rams don't look like they're firing on all cylinders. I'm for sure picking the Bears. Plus 3.5. Could be a field goal game. And you got to think if it's a close game that they're going to be more confident than the Rams are. Although Stafford's incredibly clutch. He's more battle tested than Caleb Williams, which is just because of age. But Chicago looks like a team of destiny. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl with their defense as bad as this, where they let Jordan Love gash them in the first half. I think they need to tighten up on that side of the ball. But can they win a game against a LA Hollywood Dome team when it's going to be 18 degrees or something? And it's
I think we're looking at single digits.
And it's a night game. It's good.
I'll throw this in real quick. The expected temperature is expected to be 18 degrees, but 15-mile-an-hour winds with a feels-like temperature of anywhere from -7 to 12 degrees.
And that benefits a team that runs the ball, whereas Stafford is airing it out to Devontae and Puka Nacua. Although Devontae, Green Bay guy, used to playing in Soldier Field. Stafford used to it, although I just said he was 1-9 in games where the temperature's freezing. So the Bears are going on a little bit of a run right now. And listen, if they lose, it's still a hell of a season for them. They've overachieved this year as far as I'm concerned. And going into future years with Ben Johnson and Caleb, the sky's the limit. But I think they're going to keep it going here, and I'm picking them plus 3.5.
Yeah, to round it out here, I agree with what you guys have said. This and there's the added context of like what transpired this season, but in terms of last season compared to this season for the Bears, I think that it does kind of give a similar vibe to when the Washington Commanders went to Detroit and took down the Lions, a game which nobody thought the Lions were going to lose. And this game, like last year, people were talking about Lions are a Super Bowl contender. This year, people are talking about Rams are a Super Bowl contender. And the Bears are kind of like that fun team with a young quarterback. And last year, it was the same deal with the Commanders. And I'm not saying that the Bears are going to have, a collapse this year like the Commanders did.
Tommy, that's what scares me is that
I
I
know,
if
I
no
know
no no
you're afraid.
not the collapse part. I'll worry about that when the time comes. Is yes, the Commanders. If I could trade places with the Commanders last year, and they asked me if I were hypothetically a Commanders fan, would you rather have what happened happen, or lose to the Lions in a shootout like that and then not have that happen? If we pull this off and go get blown out next week, that's worse than losing this week.
Well, that's your opinion. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. If you make it to the conference championship game as a rookie, that's a pretty good rookie, or not rookie, as a second-year quarterback. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If they get San Fran, by the way, that game's also
Yeah.
at Soldier Field.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I was going to go next. There's been a lot of talk this last year, whether it be, Ryan Poles, ownership, whatever it might be, about the Bears, moving to Indiana, moving to Arlington Heights, whatever. I was just at Soldier Field this summer for a concert. I don't think there's anything wrong with that venue. Like, it's a historic venue. It has been modernized in recent years to, acclimate to the current era that we're in. I think that stadium gives you such a home field advantage. And 18 degrees and wind, 15-mile-an-hour wind at that, you can't ask for much more in Chicago in the divisional round of the playoffs. That's exactly why you have Soldier Field. And I hope that ownership and, whoever else makes these decisions realizes that. Either way, when it comes down to the actual football being played, the Rams have been one of the best teams all year. In a year where there isn't a clear-cut favorite, I think a lot of people have just kind of, leaned on the fact that the Rams have Stafford, who's playing at the top of his game. You've got a great defense. You've got Puka, you've got Devontae, you've got Kyron Williams. And I think that that's an easy, team to, kind of latch yourself to and be like, this team has the experience. They've won a Super Bowl before. They have the superstar players. But then you've got the Chicago Bears who just fucking find a way to win games. And, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, I don't know if you guys have, I'm sure Sam has, but I don't know if Jake or the people watching this have watched that post-game locker room speech that Ben Johnson gave. And then Caleb Williams said, "Hold on, I'm going to give a game ball to you because you just won. You just won your first playoff." I mean, you can't ask for much more of a culture than that in a guy's first year as a head coach. I love the vibes. I absolutely love the vibes. You see the Caleb jersey behind me here. Yeah, I'm distraught because the Pittsburgh Steelers just lost. But at the same time, I'm rooting for my guy Caleb. The vibes in Chicago are awesome. When we were doing our draft recap, all that type shit, it was like, and even this year too, because Tyler Warren had a great year. It was like, why did the Bears pick Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren? Colston Loveland might be.
How did we take this long to get to Colston Loveland? Holy fuck, is that kid awesome?
Yeah, Colston Loveland might be one of the best tight ends in football next year, and for the foreseeable future. And, granted, Tyler Warren probably will be too, but Colston Loveland clearly was a good pick. And whichever order you wanted to take them, we'll see how their careers plays out. But clearly, that it was a good pick. And you look at a guy like Luther Burden, who's really come onto the scene here recently as well for Chicago. His total right now, by the way, I'm going to add this to my card. 38.5 receiving yards. I'm going to take the over on that.
Okay, you're going to add that. Yeah, the only thing I did dissuade you from that with is that his target share went down big after he fucked up the route on fourth down.
Well, I mean, that happens in a game, but like DK dropped a pass and we didn't throw it to him again until there was like 2 minutes left in the game. Regardless, he has really come onto the scene here. I think he's going to be a good player for the Chicago Bears going forward as well. I don't love any touchdown props in this game. Like I said last week, it's a new season, postseason. I don't need to come back in any rankings. I don't remember where I stand currently after 1 week of postseason ball, but Chicago Bears are going to win this football game at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. It's not because we went to high school with Caleb. It's not because, we want Caleb to win or any of that shit. I think the Chicago Bears, if I did not know Caleb from Matthew Stafford, I think the Chicago Bears are going to win this game. And I think that when you really look at it, it's a Chicago-led football team who has found a way to win throughout the regular season and through 1 week of the postseason. when they should absolutely have no chance of winning. The Packers went up 2 scores with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. Any other team that I can think of in recent memory, that game's over. You're already like mentally accepting the fact that your season is over. But this Chicago Bears team somehow found a way to win that game. Versus a team who plays in a dome in Los Angeles. And granted, they've been a good football team, but this is a different level. And that grass this past week when they were playing the Packers, you could not ask for worse grass in Chicago in January in freezing cold temperature where it just got poured on by snow and they cleared it off right before the game. That, I hope that it snows. I thought we were going to get a snow game. We need to get one snow game at least. The Bills are on the road the whole playoffs. Chicago's probably our best chance. Green Bay's out. We need one snow game this playoffs. It could be this week. Maybe if the Bears host the 49ers next week, it'll be that. The Bears are going to win this football game. The Bears are going to cover this football game. Chicago has been a dog this entire playoff run, which granted has only been 1 week, but they will continue to be a dog if they keep going. Give me the Bears. I think the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl.
Tommy, I think that's why they say the stadium's in bad shape. It's not necessarily the infrastructure. Actually, it could be. I haven't been there in a while, but I think it's because the turf is so poorly kept. It's
they changed it recently.
It could just be if that's really the issue, then just get turf. But everybody hates turf, so then you're dealing with that. At the same time, though, when you turn on a football game in January, you want the grass to be back.
Yeah,
like
there's something.
There's
something about it where it's like the yellow grass.
When I was watching the Bills-Jags game, it's 75 degrees in Florida. Jake, I know you're a Florida guy. Like, that didn't feel like a playoff game. Like, it felt like a regular season game. It's beautiful outside, bright and sunny, and they had the wild card logo on the field. It didn't feel like it was a playoff game. But then when you turn on the New England game where it's like 6-3 and it's cold as shit, and they show the people in the stands and they're all bundled up, that feels like a playoff game.
Yeah, Florida teams haven't had home playoff games in quite some time. I guess Brady had a couple when he was with Tampa, but
that was COVID year, so no one really knew anything anyway.
It's been, you're 20 degrees, brown grass, and see, this is the game I'm most excited for. I'm glad they saved this for Sunday night prime time.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I need to enjoy my Saturday this week because that was.
I saw the numbers of people who watched the games this past weekend. A lot of people are saying that because this game was on Prime last week, it's suffered because not everybody has Prime.
Most streamed game in NFL history.
Yeah, well, but if this game was on, national television, not a streaming service, this might have been the most streamed game or most watched game of all time.
Yeah.
Period.
If that game was on NBC, it very, very well could
have. But yeah, I mean, hey. I just clicked the mute button by accident. But
yes.
Shout out to us three for being here, and this is what football is all about, and I'm super excited. We've only got 3 weeks left of football, so appreciate.
So get the fuck in.
Exactly.
And real quick, championship, national championship prediction. Just one word: Miami.
Really?
I kind of like Miami to cover.
Well, I mean, you're in my. Are you going to this game, Jake? Are you going to find?
No, I'm not that wealthy. Unless someone gives me a free ticket. The cheapest ticket's like $4,000.
Well, just one team, and then we can talk about that.
All right, my one word is Sig.
Yeah, one word. Yeah, Signetti. Yeah, I'll go with.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.
My two words